Hey there guys, it's Cameron with Emerson House Buyers. Every week I bring tools, tactics, strategies, things that have helped me build a sizable rental portfolio in a little over a year. And I want to share the lessons I've learned, the do's, the don'ts, the things that you can learn from my mistakes and avoid, so you can do it quicker or better than I've done it, or use it in a different way. This isn't the only way to do it. I don't know everything. These are just, I want to share things that have helped me and things that I don't want to do again or go through or see anybody else go through. So here I am, creating a weekly video for you guys. And I got a question. I love when you guys ask questions. Thanks so much. Got a question. I'm going to read the question and then I'll do my best to answer it. So it's talking about deal analysis. What do you do when you get deals that do not get a 1% of ARV after repair value as rent value? Let's say ARV is 160, it rents at 1400. If you want to follow my criteria, which is to put 30% of rent aside for maintenance, vacancy management, and CapEx, my offer price has to be really low, especially with long-term financing, less than 70% of ARV, to keep my PI low enough to meet my criteria. The house did not need much work. I would be able to pay $119,000 for it. What would be your approach in this type of situation? And a side question, what to expect cost-wise on the first closing cost using cash and the second closing refinancing on a long-term 30-year mortgage? And finally, is home insurance in the same ballpark for an investment property as my primary residence or more or less expensive? Great questions. All these fantastic. So let's break them down one at a time. What would I do in this situation? You got a property that's worth 160 and it only rents at 1400 and you can pay 119 for it. It doesn't need much. I walk, or I try to get them to sell it to me and flip it. Maybe it makes sense as a flip. Maybe you can lock up some long-term financing. Maybe your competitive advantage is you're a realtor and you have a bunch of cash. So you can buy this property at $120,000 cash with very little closing costs, holding costs, and then you can turn around and sell it and save yourself 3% on that side with only putting a little bit of work into it. Maybe that's your strategy. My strategy, I mean, I would have to look at the numbers, but they don't. Looks like you got 40,000 equity, said needs very little work. I don't know if that's 5,000 or 10,000. I would probably walk or offer lower. Some of these deals you're going to find just like this just aren't going to fit in your box. They're not going to fit your criteria. You cannot peg, I know you guys heard me say this 100 times, you cannot peg the square block into the round hole. It doesn't work. Quit trying to do that. So it might be a great deal for a flipper or for somebody who's a contractor or somebody else who has another competitive advantage. Don't try to make a deal out of something that isn't a deal. Maybe it's a great property to owner finance. I would look into owner financing. That's something I know how to do. I don't know if this individual is comfortable with that or not. Buy it at 119. By the time you refi out of it, you might get some low financing and you can turn around and owner finance it to somebody else. So that's what I would look to do. I always look at options that fit my strategy. So I have my overall strategy, in which everybody should, overall goals for their company or business or what they want real estate to do for them, anything in life in general. So you have these goals, and then you have properties or whatever your product is that are helping you meet your goal. And if they're not helping you meet your goal, then you get rid of them. Or maybe take a little bit of cash, wholesale it. I don't know if you could wholesale this property. I have to look at the numbers a little more closely, but I know in Katy, that property would not be worth renting because taxes are so high. They're almost 3% of $160,000. So that wouldn't cut me in a $1,400 a month rent. Just wouldn't do it. So to answer your question, what would I do in this situation? I would look at my strategy, break it down and say, can I rent it? If I can't, I don't try to make it work. Can I owner finance it? I can't. I don't try to make it work. Can I flip it, make a little bit of money? I can't. Don't make it work. Can I wholesale it? Nope, can't. Don't make it work. Here's Here's an agent I know that's fantastic that you can list this property with. Or here's another investor. Hey, pay me a few $100 for just my time or what have you at closing, and take it on. No big deal. Or if it's a buddy, I mean, help them out. If somebody is in that area, don't always be thinking about me. Because the next time that guy finds a property and you say, I'm just looking for rentals in this range or owner financing this type of property, they'll think of you. So, biggest piece, don't try to pound the square block through the round hole. Get your minds out of the gutter too there, people. Second question, what do you expect on cost-wise on your first set of closing costs and the second set on your refi, your long-term financing? So if you guys aren't familiar with the BRRRR strategy, the buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, and you can take out rehab and put in whatever, or take out rehab and just buy and refi. This is a very lucrative strategy. I mentioned it in a video a few episodes back. So just look for the one talking about Marisol Drive. I walk through every single piece of that and how to do this. So the question is, you got closing costs on both ends. Fantastic. Make sure you take those in consideration, because 1% here, 1% there, 2% here, 2% there starts adding up to a lot of money when you're talking about $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 house. That could be 20 or 30 grand. So if you forget to do that, bye-bye profits. They're poof, gone in thin air. So on a cash transaction, it's so freaking smooth. I really do love cash transaction. I'm talking about true cash transaction, not a private money. You get somebody in and they got their doc fees and what have you. I'm talking about true cash transaction. Unbelievably smooth. I would say your closing costs are going to be between 1% and 2% from my experience in Texas and in Athens, in Ohio. That's only from my experience. I don't know about the broad overall market. It could be a lot more than that in other areas. Not sure. When you go to do the refi with the mortgage company, though, the 30-year fix to get the long-term cheap financing for your rental, that is going to run you between 2% and 3%. You're going to have, and I say this, but it all depends on the value of the property too, because you're going to have to do a $500 appraisal or $400, depending upon where you're at in the country. Maybe they'll get away with a $350 appraisal. Appraisals seem to keep going up and up every time I do one, so that's $500. You got to do a title policy. They're going to make you do a title policy. That's usually about 1%. But if you got a $100,000 property, $500 is half of a point. So there's already a 0.5%. And then the title policy is 1%. There's 1.5%. And that's not including doc fees, prep fees, attorney fees, everything else at the title company. So I would say those are good rules of thumb for houses between 100 and 200,000, maybe even 250. But when you start getting in those really extremes where we get really cheap housing or really expensive, those rules might not jive. You guys will have to excuse me. I got a little bit of a runny nose. Told you this is live. We do this shit live. It happens. So 1% to 2% for cash, say between 100,000 and 250,000. And 2% to 3% on your refi with your long-term 30-year fixed rates. Banks have a little bit more hoops to jump through. They have a little bit more fees associated with them. If you get hooked up with a good credit union, you might not have these issues. But, or you might have less, I should rephrase that. You'll have less fees, same amount of time, maybe a little bit quicker, but still, I would go through a credit union. I have an episode about that as well. Go back and just search the one about credit unions. The last question, talking about home insurance. Is it comparable to your rental insurance? Your insurance on your house is a rental versus insurance when you are an owner occupant. I have found them to be comparable or maybe a little cheaper, but it's really not, I can't say for one way or the other. Especially it depends. Has the house flooded? Are you in a floodplain? Are you going to go with a high deductible plan or a low deductible plan? And that just means when something happens, are you going to have to fork out more money when it happens? Or are you going to pay less money when it happens and pay more on a monthly basis or annual basis? So you're either going to pay annually for it, or you're going to wait till something happens and pay more for it then. So you got 1% deductibles, 2%, 3%, and various other insurance policies that you can look at, different things there that I don't fully understand. So I leave it up to my people who handle my insurance stuff. But I will say it's pretty comparable, I've found, to your homeowner's policy. Typically, I found it to be a little bit cheaper. But if you use your homeowner's policy, that amount, then you should be good. So I think that's it. The biggest thing from this, and I see this happen all the time. This is a great question because I've seen it. Well, Cameron, what would you do? Is there some mythical strategy or some great strategy you haven't tucked in your back pocket that you can use? I've seen it taught at seminars. I've seen it taught all over. They'll tell you 74 strategies to be able to buy an investment property. Bullshit. Well, I shouldn't say bullshit. Yes, there are. Are you as a newbie, or you as a person who's trying to buy 4, 5, 6 houses, maybe just buy a couple houses to help pay for your kids' education? Maybe just buy a little bit to make your wife not have to work. Whatever it is. Do you really want to spend time learning 70 strategies or 40 or 50? No. It's, in my opinion, is a waste of time. Create a couple strategies that fit your overall goal and strategy. And these techniques that you have should have criteria for them. And when you have that criteria, my rental properties, I want them in this location, and I want it in this school district or in this price range because I like this, I'm close, I can drive to it, I'm familiar with the area, whatever your competitive advantage is, or whatever you like the area, and stick to it. Don't get outside of it. Trust me, I've been there. It's like, man, this seems like a deal. There's got to be something here. There's got to be. I've almost got myself in trouble a couple of times because I'm trying to pound, you know what I'm going to say, the square block in the round hole. Does not work. Does not work. Do not try to get too cute. If it doesn't meet your criteria, walk. Have a couple different other things laid up or lined out for, okay, this is what I love to do. This is really going to help me. If I can't do that, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do this. If I can't do any of those, I got to pass. Turn it over to a realtor, get a fee, turn it over to some other investor who is going to take it and do something with it and get paid a little fee or maybe nothing, whatever. Think about it as, just your justice. You're giving back. I've seen people, and I've had an episode about this as well, who buy deals and are facing issues in foreclosure and possibly bankruptcy. Go back and watch that one too. This is not all sunshine and rainbows. Shit happens. So when you think, one second. Oh yeah. Gotta love it, man. Guys, we're doing this stuff live. Woo! So when you think this shit's real, I mean, you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars, shit happens. AC units go out that you didn't expect. Fees come up that you didn't expect. Permits weren't pulled. Whatever happened. You have to stick to your criteria. And I'm saying this with all sincerity because if you don't, you're going to get screwed. And eventually, if you get away from your criteria, you're going to get screwed. If somebody else comes in and they're offering $10,000 more, you can't go and buy that deal. You can't go and do it because if it goes outside your criteria, you have no idea what competitive advantage that other guy has. He might or she might be buying that with all of their own cash or for another purpose. Maybe they got $100 million that they won in the lottery and they're just putting it to use in real estate. They might not know what the hell they're doing. Just because somebody is offering more, you're going to lose a deal, doesn't mean that it wasn't a good thing or didn't happen for a right reason. Think about that. Because I know several people who've lost a shit ton of money on real estate. Not hundreds of thousands, but tens of thousands of dollars. Upwards of 100 on stupid things that they did that they didn't follow their criteria. They thought that they could sell the house above where it was and got outside the rules. And then when that happens, you get bit and you might never get back into real estate. So I want you to be in real estate. I think it's powerful. I think it's great. Create some criteria. If you don't know what your criteria are, go ask people. Go to networking events and say, guys, what are you doing? How are you determining what's a good rental in this market? in this crazy market we live in, how are you determine what's a good rental? I walk on way more deals than I've ever buy. So many more. And I call and talk to people 10x the people that I don't go and see, that I don't actually go and walk to the property. So it's something not to take lightly. And like I said, go back, watch that episode. I'm serious about some of this stuff. Stick to your guns. Stick to whatever criteria you create. Don't falter on it. It is difficult. I know. I've been there. I've done it. I know when it's like, oh, this has to be a deal. There's money going out in marketing. I'm getting a little nervous. I haven't done a deal. Stay calm. So that is the biggest takeaway from this. Some deals aren't going to work for you. It might be a blessing. Again, guys, if this was helpful, I hope it was. I'm doing my best to give back on everything I can and tell you I'm not holding anything back here. You guys ask me any of these questions, I'll be completely and 100% honest with you. So if there was something you didn't like or something that you want me to go into more detail in, please comment below. If you found this valuable, share it with somebody you know. Share it with somebody that can help, because that's really the main purpose of this. So until next week, guys, thanks for tuning in. See you.